Yo, the man Kenny Atkinson is now the Cleveland Cavaliers' new head coach. Breaking news on NBA Central today. We gonna talk about it, break it down right after this.
Thank you for tuning in to the number one place for your basketball fix, NBA Central, hosted by the Cognac Boys.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Central. I'm Bobby. I'm joined by my guy, Stevo. If y'all tuned in with us today, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Stevo, we know that the Cleveland Cavaliers got rid of their former head coach and JB Bickerstaff. We've been hearing some rumblings that this is absolutely Donovan Mitchell's team now over Darius Garland, and now the Cleveland Cavaliers have hired their new head coach, Kenny Atkinson, with a long resume as a coach. Stevo, how you feeling about this signing, my guy?
I like it. To me, I don't know. I still feel like the JB Bickerstaff move was a little premature. To me, I still feel like he was a decent enough coach. I feel like more of the problem lied around more of the roster construction. I think their first idea having Laurie there was better than what they got now. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
understand that you got your transcendent shooting guard per se. I don't agree with it, but I don't know if the coaching change is necessarily going to per se improve it on a bigger scale, but we did see Kenny Atkinson lead that Brooklyn team. He was a head coach for Brooklyn for 4 years, and I believe out of those 4 years, I'm not sure how many times he went to the playoffs, maybe once, but it was a legit chance, and he did it with not too many. Did it with D'Angelo Russell
Yeah,
and a couple like Dorian Finney and it's people like that. Like he didn't do it with any people with that many people. So it shows, like I always said, like to show that you a good coach, it shows off when you don't always have the best talent, but you're still productive. And that's
fact.
one thing we knew about that Brooklyn team is productive. They had Nicholas Caston. That was the time they even had Jared Allen. Was one of the reason why Jared Allen even is a Cavalier. It was touted as one of those big traditional bigs in the league was due to Kenny Atkinson's system. So
Right.
Spencer Dinwiddie was on that
Yep.
team. Joe Harris,
Mm-hmm.
like there's a lot of people on that team that he made it to. But yeah, I like Kenny. I like the hire. I just don't know if it's gonna do what you wanted to do. I think you need to focus more on the roster spot. But if anybody could get it out of anything and squeeze and rinse the towel dry, Kenny's that coach to do it.
I'm with you on that. We talk about, for those that don't know, Kenny Atkinson was an assistant coach for the Knicks for a couple years, and then the Atlanta Hawks, and then, like Steve-O pointed out, he did go to the Brooklyn Nets. One season he made the playoffs, and then in the 2019-2020 season, it was his last year pretty much. You had an injured Kyrie, you had an injured KD. These guys, KD didn't even play, so then Kyrie was pretty much in and out of the lineup pretty much the entire season. So you
Levert,
didn't get to see,
they had
yeah,
Levert too.
yeah. So they had a nice crew, but most of those guys were injured. So you can't really knock Kenny for that. But like you mentioned, when he did make the playoffs, it was crazy how he even got to the playoffs with some of those players that was on the team. And it is the Eastern Conference, but you can't knock him. Steve-O, one thing I like the most about it is that this is a guy with a proven track record. He's been around some really solid head coaches. Mike Budenholzer, he's been around. He's been around organizations like the Clippers and the Golden State Warriors with Steve Kerr. So I'm looking at it like, look, he's seen winning basketball, or at least know
Hmm.
what the process is to where you can start establishing a winning culture. Me personally, I'm with you. I don't think JB Bickerstaff should have been fired, because what the hell can you do when Donovan Mitchell's injured and then you lose your big man and Jared Allen with I think it was a cracked rib. And then there
Hmm.
was, y'all pretty much played the last game of the playoffs with a bunch of guys that was coming off the bench. You know what I'm saying? And he still made the most out of that opportunity. But what else did you want him to do? And I'm happy for Kenny though. Because there's somebody who, when we talk about head coaches and who fits and who should teams try to look at when it comes to developing their young players, I was pointing to Kenny Atkinson as being one of those coaches. So hopefully it does work out. My question for you though is, I know you mentioned at the end of your take pretty much is now it's about the roster. So do you think one of the moves that Kenny Atkinson should be doing is trying to get rid of Darius Garland, or do you let him stick around for another year per se to try to figure it out?
I feel like you could get a if you're gonna continue to have Donovan Mitchell and you want to keep that core there, you're gonna have to make that move to sure up the around these spaces make sense around that team because Darius is not gonna be Darius alongside with a high volume Donovan Mitchell. It's just not gonna be, and then it's a defensive liability. That backcourt is way too small. Like that's
Yeah.
Darius is probably the tallest one if he is, and that's pushing 6'1".
Yeah.
It's just not a good idea as a whole totality when it comes to the roster. There's so many and you could get he's still valuable enough. He's still a premier guard. He's probably top 10 guard in the league right now. So you can make a move where it can make you way more of a threat to go for that championship because there's still a contending type team. As you said, they've been in the playoffs the last 2 years. They got a little bit further than they did this year than last year, but I just think they're a couple pieces away. I think like I said earlier, that Lowry trade kind of messed them up because I think Lowry was the one that made them so unpredictable and so difficult to guard. But you got to take risks if you so sold on Donovan, and they seem like they're so sold on Donovan. So you got to make the proper team around them to order to win.
Exactly. And I'm with you on that too. I think that one thing that you got to think about is definitely the Darius Garland stuff because you got two small guards. Now, when you bring that up, that made me instantly think about Jalen Brunson in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like Jalen Brunson is that small point guard, but next to him, he got Josh Hart. Next to him, he got OG, Julius Randle, big guys that can kind of help cover up for some of that height being, a bit challenging when you facing some of the other teams. But Stevo, I think the biggest thing that Kenny Atkinson need to do is how the hell do we unlock Evan Mobley? He needs to be unlocked. He needs to be, bro. He got so much
Yeah.
talent. He's so versatile. He's solid already on the defensive side, can rebound, give you a little bit of everything just about everywhere. I think that's the biggest thing that Kenny Atkinson need to try to figure out. What you think?
I mean, we all know what the answer. We know how to unlock them. It just are they gonna be real about it? Everybody knows, and I try to tell people, and the stats have showed this. The Mitchell is a fucking black hole, and the bigs around him suffer.
Mm.
For all those years in Utah, for the longest, we were just saying, "Oh, Rudy Gobert, he just played defense." We've been seeing on the Timberwolves, and he been doing way more on the offensive
That's
side of the
fair.
ball.
Yeah.
Even when and the times when he wasn't on the court when Donovan was on the bench, you seen a way more usage rate out of the bigs. You're not gonna see Evan develop with Donovan Mitchell there. It's not gonna happen. I just don't see it happening. It's not. I thought this man was gonna be play style like KG like.
Mm.
Cause he got it. He got the tools. He can stretch the floor. He got the footwork. 7'1", getting stronger each and every day. But he need they don't give him that time where he could just take over a game because they're gonna give it to Donovan every time. Like you got to give him the reps so he can constantly learn from his mistakes. And I wonder how many shots he get a game because I bet it's under 20.
You could probably bank that for real because that man. Look, if we can go ahead and we could draw up from everything that we've seen from Donovan Mitchell. He gonna drop 40, hell, maybe even 70. But the team still ain't producing to the level that we need him to
This
produce at.
motherfucking field goal is 11.8. That's why he not fucking producing,
Yeah,
bro. That's not
exactly. That's
enough.
not good enough for Evan Mobley. And I think that when you got a guy that's who gonna come down and transition and not necessarily set things up, he just gonna go up to the 3-point line and jack a three. You look at how much is taken away from the others, and one of those other that needs to be involved is the guy that we just talked about at Evan Mobley. So do you think Kenny Atkinson can get this man to take a back step? I don't know.
I mean, who knows? Because I don't think Donovan ever had a coach to tell him like, "All right, we need this from you." Like
Right.
for the most part, I think all the coaches for the most part has been telling Donovan to go be Donovan. Because in retrospect, for the Utah Jazz, he had to do that.
Facts.
When he came here, he didn't necessarily have to do that.
Yeah.
You got Darius, you got Karis LeVert, you got
Bro.
Jared Allen, you got Evan Mobley. You even got their bench. We didn't even talk about that. This probably one of the best benches they had in a while.
Yes.
Strauss,
Drews, Niang. They had
Niang,
Levert. Like that's
Levert
a lot
came
of
off the bench.
offensive scoring coming off the bench.
Yeah, like you built for the playoffs. You built for the regular season. It's just how you put it together, how your flow and offense is. And to me, the flow has never been. It's never really a good flow when Donovan is on any team. It's just Donovan go figure something out, and he's good enough. He's athletic enough that he does sometimes, but it's to the detriment of others.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because you see guys like Donovan Mitchell, James Harden, Luka Doncic, they can score whenever the hell they want. But the problem is when you're in the playoffs and teams are keying up on your superstar who they know has a high
Mm-hmm.
usage rate, and you know that this game is hard fought, and you already then took your teammates out the game because you ain't sharing a rock. And these guys getting beat up, fighting for extra rebounds, and they never seeing it on the other end. You take guys out of their game. And I think that that's one thing that Donovan Mitchell should learn or needs to learn, but that's going to be determined up on him. And like you said, Kenny Atkinson got to sit him down and have that conversation because, bro, you don't have to drop 20 in the first quarter. You don't have to do that, bro. If I think Donovan Mitchell can see a lot of success if he just become a 25 point per game scorer, 26, 27 at the height. Once you start etching into 29, 30, 31 points per game, you taking away from the other guys that's on this team that can help you win ball games because there's no reason why I'm looking at this Cavs team and I believe they are well-rounded. I believe they got a lot of pieces that you can work with and say these guys really could be fighting for the Eastern Conference final spot. They really could be, but they just don't play winning basketball well enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't sit here, and that's the thing. Like you mentioned, like a Luka and them, but the difference between them, they dropped 30 but had 10, 12 assists.
And that's another
You
thing.
can't sit here and drop 30 and have under 5 assists.
Yeah, because that means you
Like
ain't
that,
sharing nothing. The
you're not
fact.
sharing. And like I'm looking at the averages. I'm trying to see real quick. Yeah, like his assists per game. I mean, this year was at his highest at 6.1.
Right.
But for the most part, he stayed his year, his rookie year 3.7. From then on is 4.2, 4.3, 5.2, 5.3, 4.4, 4.4.
It's not good
It's not
enough.
good enough,
That's
especially in those
absolutely not good
seasons
enough.
when you weren't even averaging KG stats. 24 and 5 is not good enough. 26 and 5 not good enough. 20, and then when you go up, you score your highest in your career was 28.3 points per game. You average 4.3 assists. Not good enough.
Yeah,
It's just not good enough.
that's a fact. So big ups to Kenny Atkinson. You think they get him? You think last question? You think Kenny Atkinson gonna be able to push them to a new level, or you still gotta wait to see what they
It,
do with this roster?
I just like him because it's not a sure thing. It's a challenge, and he wasn't scared to take that challenge. So I'm not gonna guarantee anything. I'm just glad he's the top. He's just the type of coach that if it is a challenge, it's a bit of a project. He's the one to take on that task because, like I said, if you look at the history of his whole career from assistant coach to head coach, he ain't lost. He ain't been a part of a team that lost under 41 games.
For sure.
So he done seen it all. He done seen multiple styles ran. He done seen multiple players. He done worked with multiple players. He's very well renowned. He's very respected around the league. Hey, if anybody's to do it, he's one of those guys that I say could possibly squeeze out that towel and get as much as they could get out of this team.
For sure. So we shall see. But that is it from us today, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you chime in on this topic. Do you think Kenny Atkinson will be a good coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Let us know your thoughts down below. Tune in before you get up out of here. Hit the like button and subscribe. It's another episode of NBA Central. I'm Bobby with Stevo. We're going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.